Aloha, kakahiaka kako. Thank you all for being here today and for the opportunity to talk about the National Guard, and specifically the Hawaiʻi National Guard's growing role in supporting our nation's competitiveness and strategic level defense priorities. In my now 21-year career, I've seen the National Guard transform, even our Hawaii Air National Guard, from a quiet, off-the-radar C-130 and F-15 squadron out in the Pacific to a lethal and almost full-time composite associate squadrons where we serve alongside active duty counterparts, flying C-17s and F-22s each and every day. Active duty pilots flying with Hawaii Air National Guard pilots side by side, deploying overseas. Over the last 2 years, the National Guard has been in the national spotlight, from a deadly global health pandemic, wildfires, hurricanes, domestic political turmoil to Afghanistan, or even one of our C-17 airmen, Colin Chauhoi, participated in one of the greatest humanitarian airlifts in history. Our National Guard was always ready and always there. Indeed, the National Guard is always ready and always there, and that is the motto of our National Guard. Our Guardsmen were called to serve in the early days of the pandemic, when 50,000 Guardsmen were activated via Presidential Emergency Declaration. The National Guard answered the call when states were unable to, or at the time didn't know how to mitigate the effects of COVID. As someone who also volunteered to serve during COVID with the Hawaii National Guard's Joint Task Force Long Claw for 4 months, starting in April 2019, we helped the state of Hawaii get through the early initial phases of the deadly pandemic. I often think about how far we have come. Many of us put our lives on the line by manning security checkpoints at airports and conducting COVID tests before we had vaccines. Because of you, because of your sacrifice, we were able to get through the worst days of the pandemic. My job in Congress is to be a voice for you, the National Guard. I view myself as one of the lead congressional advocates for the National Guard. This year, I will be co-leading the bipartisan Guard and Reserve Caucus in the House of Representatives with Congressman Steve Palazzo of Mississippi. On Guard and Reserve issues, I have 2 strategic objectives for my first term in office. My first objective is to advocate for National Guard parity in personnel policies and to create more opportunities for the National Guard and Reserve. I am proud to be the House Armed Services Committee champion of the National Guard and Reserve Incentive Pay and Parity Act, which was successfully included in the FY22 NDAA and signed into law. This legislation requires the military to provide Reserve and National Guard service members incentive and special duty pay at the same rate as their active duty counterparts. I also authored the 1095 Rule Amendment, which increases the maximum number of days that reservists can serve on active duty from 1095 days out of 1460 days to 1825 days out of 2190 days. This increase to the current cap is important because it provides more flexibility to employ reserve component members into critical active duty positions to maintain mission readiness. We are the SMEs, the subject matter experts. You, me, us at PACAF, USERPAC, and INDOPACOM. And so having the right person for the right job is critical to the safety and success of any mission. My second objective is to enhance and leverage the National Guard State Partnership Program in order to advance long-term relationships in INDOPACOM. The State Partnership Program is an important component of the Pacific Deterrence Initiative, which received approximately $7 billion from Congress in the FY22 NDAA, $2 billion higher than what was requested in the President's budget. As many of you already know, the PDI is targeted at improving DoD's posture in the Indo-Pacific region. The National Guard State Partnership Program is a direct investment and the best investments in forging meaningful relationships with partners and allies in the region to counter our near-peer and rogue competitors in the Western Pacific. Currently in the Indo-Pacific region, there are 15 nations partnering with 10 states and 1 U.S. territory. There are also ongoing discussions that the State Partnership Program may be expanded to include Taiwan, and I'm a strong proponent of that. The State Partnership Program provides a valuable tool for conducting mill-to-mill engagement, logistics, and training programs to support security cooperation with partner nations in this critical region of the world. Now that the United States has withdrawn from Afghanistan and OIF and OEF missions are over, the focus is on the Indo-Pacific, the DoD's #1 priority theater. Our military in the Pacific, including the Hawaiʻi National Guard, is at the center of the DoD and the Pentagon's attention. That is why I'm directing the DoD to take a look at strengthening and hardening our military infrastructure and assets in the region. I directed the Department of Defense to conduct 2 feasibility studies, one on the establishment of an aeromedical squadron at Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam, and the other on establishing a Guam Air National Guard wing. As a member of the House Armed Services Committee, I look forward to advancing many more National Guard related priorities, from establishing a Space National Guard, to establishing a High-Ang AE squadron at Hickam, to expanding healthcare and TRICARE benefits for our guardsmen and women nationwide. Another important aspect of my job is to be there for you when the National Guard's needs and priorities are being neglected. I hear from our guardsmen and women every single day, and I want you to know that you can count on me to have your back. General Hokanson, Chief of the National Guard, has said publicly many times, the Guard's tempo will only increase, and it is really important that we take care of our guardsmen and women, and most importantly, their families. For example, last July, I spoke on the House floor to strongly urge my House colleagues and House leadership to immediately pass the $521 million National Guard emergency supplemental package before the August 1st deadline. It was completely unacceptable to me that after all that was done this year, answering our nation's call, that this is how our guardsmen and women were being treated. If we had not met the August 1st deadline, there would have been operational and readiness consequences. Drills would have had to have been canceled. But the real damages are the profound personal impacts on the morale of our soldiers, our airmen, and their families across the 54. I am greatly appreciative that Congress ultimately passed the emergency supplemental on time, but it was too close for comfort. In closing, many of my policy proposals are the result of hearing and listening from you. Whether you are a senior officer or a junior enlisted, I encourage you to reach out to my office if you have a policy idea that can benefit Guard and Reserve members nationwide. I would also like to personally thank the Adjutant General of the Hawaiʻi National Guard, General Hara, for his leadership. General Hara has been central to our state's early success with the COVID-19 pandemic, and his dedication, often sleepless nights, not just him, but his entire team, has been pivotal to the coordinated effort between our states, counties, community organizations. Finally, mahalo nui loa for all that you do, our airmen, our soldiers, the best and most diverse National Guard organization in the nation. We are a stronger nation because of the critical work that you do and the support that you receive from your families. Your commitment and participation to the Hawaiʻi National Guard Association is vital to its success and successful advocacy in Washington, D.C. Mahalo nui loa, and i mua, Hawaii.